When a pair of shoes came flying at President George W. Bush in Baghdad, the world couldn't look away. He ducked, the journalist was tackled, and the headlines wrote themselves. But what most people missed was the moment Dana Perino, the president's press secretary, took a steel microphone to the face, leaving her with a black eye that turned into Washington's biggest punchline. Irony followed her everywhere, but so did resilience. Because that wasn't the strangest twist in her life. From secret marriages to bizarre scandals involving her dog, Dana's story has always been stranger and tougher than expected. In the summer of 1978, a 6-year-old girl named Dana Perino stood outside the gates of the White House during a family trip. While most kids would be begging for ice cream or taking blurry tourist photos, Dana looked at the president's mansion with absolute certainty and told her parents, "One day I'll work here." Her family laughed it off as a child's dream, but Dana was dead serious. That single moment would shape the rest of her life. The odds were stacked against her. Dana came from a small town in Wyoming, raised far from Washington, with no family connections, no insider ties, and no obvious path to politics. But she grew up surrounded by people who valued hard work and loyalty above everything. Her Italian-American grandparents instilled resilience, her parents taught independence, and summers on her grandfather's ranch demanded grit. Moving cattle before dawn, braving freezing mornings, and working until her hands hurt gave Dana lessons that no classroom ever could. It was here that she learned optimism wasn't just a mindset, it was survival. Those ranch mornings didn't just toughen her up, they gave her the quiet determination she would one day carry into the world's most powerful press room. Ranch work gave Dana toughness, but gymnastics sharpened her discipline. Hours of training forced her to stay calm under pressure, to nail routines while dozens of eyes watched her every move. That mix of discipline and composure became her secret weapon later, when questions at the White House were tougher than any balance beam routine. At Ponderosa High School in Parker, Colorado, Dana discovered her love for communication. She joined debate clubs and threw herself into public speaking competitions, learning to build arguments that cut through the noise and persuade audiences. Teachers noticed she had a rare ability. She could take complicated issues and explain them with absolute clarity. By the time she graduated, Dana already knew her future would blend politics and media. What made her unique was how every part of her upbringing worked together. The ranch gave her grit, gymnastics gave her balance, debate gave her persuasion. She wasn't just preparing for college, she was unknowingly training for battles that would one day be fought in front of cameras, reporters, and an entire nation. And while her friends were planning simple careers, Dana was already setting her sights on the toughest arena she could find, Washington. Dana's hustle didn't slow down in college. She took on one of the toughest schedules imaginable. While most students were asleep, she worked the overnight shift as a country music DJ at KCCY-FM in Colorado Springs. Her hours ran from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., forcing her to stay sharp while the world slept. And every single hour, without fail, she had to play Billy Ray Cyrus's Achy Breaky Heart. By the end of the week, she'd played it nearly 50 times. It was exhausting, but it taught her patience, discipline, and the importance of consistency. Then came class, debate team practice, and a side gig hosting Capital Journal, a local political TV program. While her classmates were focused on exams, Dana was producing shows, interviewing politicians, and learning to manage live broadcasts under pressure. These experiences hardened her skills faster than any textbook could. After graduating with a degree in mass communications and minors in political science and Spanish, Dana went straight into reporting on the Illinois State House. She chased lawmakers through hallways, grilled them on policy, and filed stories on impossible deadlines. It was her crash course in real politics, and it set the stage for everything that came next. Dana's career momentum was strong, but fate had other plans. On a flight from Denver to Chicago in 1997, she found herself seated next to a British businessman named Peter McMahon. He was 18 years older, twice divorced, and lived across the ocean. Everything about him seemed wrong on paper. But as the hours passed, their conversation became effortless. They spoke about politics, childhood, ambitions, and by the time the plane landed, something had changed. Their families were skeptical, the age gap raised eyebrows, and the long-distance challenge seemed impossible. But Dana couldn't ignore the pull. Within a year, she stunned everyone. At just 26, she eloped in England with Peter. No big wedding, no family present, just 2 witnesses pulled from the street. The decision shocked her colleagues. Walking away from Washington at such a critical time seemed like career suicide, but Dana didn't see it that way. For the first time, she put love before politics. She left behind a rising career to start a new life, first in England, then in San Diego, where she worked in corporate communications. It was a bold risk, but that risk would later fuel her resilience when politics pulled her back into the fire. Everything changed on September 11, 2001. Dana, like every American, watched in horror as the Twin Towers fell. But unlike most, she soon stepped into the heart of the nation's response. By November, she was back in Washington, serving as spokesperson for the Department of Justice. This was no ordinary communications job. Every word carried weight. When the Patriot Act was passed, when Guantanamo Bay dominated headlines, when non-citizens were detained without trial, Dana was the one speaking to the press, carefully balancing national security with public concern. One wrong phrase could fuel panic or international outrage. She learned to walk the tightrope of communication, offering clarity without revealing too much. The DOJ in those years was one of the most intense environments in Washington. Inside the building, pressure was relentless. Outside, protests grew louder. But Dana remained composed, becoming known as someone who could handle crisis communication with precision and calm. Her work during those years caught attention far beyond the DOJ. It proved she wasn't just a skilled communicator, she was a steady hand in the middle of national chaos. And that reputation would soon open the door to the highest level of American politics, the White House. By 2003, Dana joined the White House Council on Environmental Quality, managing some of the most controversial policies of the Bush administration. From Arctic drilling to climate change debates, she was shaping messages that reached millions. Her ability to simplify complex policies made her invaluable. In 2006, her loyalty and skill earned her a promotion, Deputy Press Secretary. Now she faced the press directly. Within a year, she made history as the first Republican woman to become White House Press Secretary. It was one of the hardest times to hold that role. The Iraq War was dragging on, public support had plummeted, and questions about the administration's choices were brutal. Add in early signs of the 2008 financial crisis, and every press briefing was a minefield. Dana admitted that frustration sometimes got the better of her. She once flipped the middle finger at a reporter behind the podium, unseen by the cameras, but what set her apart was composure. No matter how aggressive the press became, Dana stayed steady. President Bush himself praised her ability to make complicated issues clear to ordinary Americans. And in a city built on ego and tension, Dana's calm presence made her stand out even more. December 14, 2008, Baghdad. President Bush was holding a press conference on his final visit to Iraq when a journalist suddenly hurled his shoes at him. In Arab culture, throwing a shoe is one of the ultimate insults. Bush ducked, security pounced, and the world watched the shocking moment live. But while cameras captured Bush's dodge, few noticed what happened to Dana Perino. In the chaos, a Secret Service agent knocked over a heavy steel microphone boom. It swung and slammed straight into Dana's eye. The pain was instant. She left the room in tears with a black eye that would later become infamous. Reporters quickly picked up on it when she returned to Washington, the bruise still visible. Some called it the White House's real black eye after years of controversy over the Iraq War. Dana, true to form, laughed it off, jokingly calling it her Baghdad shiner. Her resilience became another story in itself. She didn't milk sympathy, didn't slow down, and kept traveling with the president. But for many, that moment, Dana, battered, bruised, and still working, summed up her entire career, unshaken, steady, and refusing to let chaos break her. Instead, just months later, she re-emerged as a Fox News contributor. By 2011, she was co-hosting The Five, a show that became one of the network's biggest hits. Millions tuned in daily, and Dana's mix of humor, sharp analysis, and calm presence made her a staple. But she didn't stop there. That same year, overwhelmed by young women constantly asking her for career advice, Dana co-founded Minute Mentoring. The idea was simple but brilliant: speed dating for mentorship. Instead of endless one-on-one coffee meetings, young professionals met accomplished leaders in quick 10-minute sessions. The format spread nationwide, helping thousands of women gain career guidance that was previously out of reach. Dana reinvented herself not just as a commentator, but as a mentor, advocate, and media figure beyond politics. She proved that her communication skills weren't limited to briefing rooms; they could inspire and guide the next generation. What made it all more impressive was how she balanced it: TV, writing books, mentoring women, and navigating a new stage of public life. But even as her career thrived, her personal life added another twist. For years, Dana's Hungarian Vizsla, Jasper, quietly stole the spotlight. She posted photos online, and soon Jasper became a celebrity in his own right. Fans would stop Dana on the street, not to greet the former White House press secretary, but to say hello to her dog. In 2016, she even wrote a book about him, Let Me Tell You About Jasper. But life with her family wasn't always lighthearted. One day, her husband Peter found himself in jail over something almost laughably small. He forgot to pay a ticket for walking their dog off leash. The missed court date led to a warrant, and suddenly, the man Dana married in secret years earlier was behind bars for a day.
The story became one of those bizarre, unforgettable anecdotes that only seemed to follow the Perino family. Later, things grew more serious. Reports surfaced about Peter's declining health, and Dana admitted how hard it was balancing her demanding career with caregiving. Fans admired her honesty, and her story sparked wider conversations about the unseen emotional battles that even public figures face. Through it all, Dana kept moving forward. Whether on TV, at home, or with her dogs, her resilience never wavered. From a little girl making a promise outside the White House gates, to a woman who stood behind its podium during some of the most turbulent years in modern politics, Dana Perino's story is one of grit, resilience, and reinvention. She faced ridicule, bruises, bizarre scandals, and deeply personal struggles, yet she never stopped showing up. She proved that a press secretary's job wasn't just about speaking for a president, it was about holding steady when the nation itself was in crisis. She proved that leaving Washington for love wasn't career suicide, but a decision that made her stronger. And she proved that even after the bruises, the scandals, and the chaos, there's life and success beyond politics. Dana didn't just survive Washington, she thrived afterward, reinventing herself as a trusted voice in media, a mentor to young women, and even the proud owner of America's favorite Vizsla. Her story isn't just about politics, it's about perseverance, unexpected turns, and the strength to keep going when the world throws more than shoes your way. And maybe that's the real lesson. Resilience doesn't always happen behind the podium. Sometimes it happens when no one is watching.